Hey everybody, welcome back to Doing Bart Things, and in this brief episode, hopefully I keep it brief and don't ramble too much, I want to comment on the release of the x870 chipset for AMD. It's an AM5 socket chipset, basically, or AM5, yeah, AM5 socket motherboards that have released, and I also wanted to kind of come back to something I talked in the previous video, which, by the way, I really apologize. The sound was crap in that video. Um, I guess I'm gonna leave it out there because I don't really have time to re-record it. But yeah, it was not great, so I apologize about that. I'm hoping this one is a little bit better. I think I was actually picking up my voice on the wrong device. I got like a headset over here, and I think I had the mic. Whatever. Anyway, uh, as I said, welcome back to a low rent production. Um, so two things. Let's start off with this new chipset. Um, AM5 motherboards are what's called a uh, is it LPA, PGA? I think it's PGA, pin grid array, or is it land grid array? I think it's L. It's land grid array. It's basically what this is it's a socket where when you stick your CPU in, the pins are actually on the socket, not on the chip. And AM4 was, I believe, PGA, if I'm getting my terms right off the top of my head, which actually had the pins on the chip. So AM5 did away with this. They put the pins on the motherboard, which, in my opinion, it's one way, half dozen the other. I think the pins on the motherboard are a little bit easier to deal with than on the chip. The chip is kind of smaller. It was easy to really bend the pins, and then you had to spend a lot of time very delicately kind of trying to straighten them out. Hopefully you didn't break one off. You can still mess up a motherboard, the pins on the board, so you have to be a little bit conscious of that. Um, but I don't think it's as fiddly as the pins being on the chip. Maybe someone else would feel differently, but that's my experience. So basically, all of the PC makers are starting to come out with their x870E chipsets. Um, oh, it says it won't be available till next year. Maybe this is just the NZXT one. I haven't checked to see if you can actually buy one of these yet. Just there's a bunch of reveal about it. It doesn't really matter if you can buy it. I mean, I'm just being honest. Because here's the deal, and here's the PSA that I want to give everybody about this, the public service announcement. It doesn't matter. Um, these motherboards are not going to be any faster or some sort of crazy upgrade over the 600 series. Okay, they will have some feature set maybe improvements here and there. I think they support PCIe 5, and that's about it. With AMD stuff, to my knowledge, right now, it does not pay to have super high memory speeds. So that's not something you're going to gain with these motherboards, um, because it doesn't matter. I mean, there's some 600 series boards that you can run memory at like 8,000 megahertz on, probably. Um, but it won't make any difference. And the reason is because the way that AMD's Infinity fabric works, it can't handle that. So it has to basically divide itself so it runs at half the speed of the memory when you do that. And so basically you put yourself right back to where you started, kind of overall performance wise. You know, there might be a little gain, but it's minuscule. It's not worth the money in most circumstances. If you're benchmarking memory, then maybe it would be worth it, if that's what you do. If that's what you do, Godspeed. Go buy the fastest, hottest memory pack you can find, and I'll wish you the best. But from kind of day in day out usability and things like that, like it's not gonna do much. I'm not even sure if it would really do much even on memory test. Now that I think about it, you know, it depends on if it's just measuring pure memory speed, as far as read write and stuff. Like, yeah, I'm not even sure that it would make any difference there either. But it's because of that Infinity fabric. Intel's a little different. It can take advantage of some higher clock memory and it will sync up with it and actually use it, but it can be a real pain to get it tuned in. So if you're willing to tweak and you have the kahunas and time and all that to do it, then you can get some benefit there. But we're talking about AMD and this chipset. So there might be a little bit more connectivity, which is always good, but it's just not, like there's really nothing about this chipset that's just gonna be like, oh my gosh, you've got to upgrade this from your 600 series chipset, or you specifically should not rule out the idea of buying a 600 chipset board for your 9000 series either, even if you're buying a 9000 series, because the performance is going to be relatively the same. There's not going to be any performance uplift with this. I mean, some 600 boards will probably perform better than some of these 800 boards. Like it's probably going to happen here and there, because the big thing that would determine a lot of the performance for your applications and things, the actual memory controller is on the chip. It's not on the board. There's an I/O die on the chip that does the communication and handles the memory and all that. So it's not, there used to be a thing called a North Bridge, which is actually a chip that connected your CPU to the memory, and that's not a thing with these. And actually, it's not been a thing in a while now. So, just want to get that out of the way. If you just bought a AM5 board with a 7800X3D or a 9000 series chip, or whatever, don't fret about it at all. This is not gonna. If you're happy with what you have, then you should just be happy, because you're not going to get anything out of upgrading to this performance-wise. Maybe if there's a can't live without feature that you see and you just got to have, sure. But, okay, PCI 5.0 M.2 slot, all right. I mean, that's probably the thermal solution. That's going to be, that's just this motherboard, right? And those things are going to kind of vary from motherboard to motherboard. You may already have a 600 series board that has a great PCB and power on it already, MOSFETs and whatnot. So I wouldn't worry about it, honestly. Let's see. Yeah, I think that was the main thing I want to say. It's a new release. You guys are going to see reviews and stuff of them. Don't fret, unless, again, there's just some sort of I can't live without feature that you need. Don't worry about it at all. Be happy with your 600 series motherboard. Carry on about your day, basically, is the message I'm trying to spread there. What else we got? I was talking in the last video about cases, specifically cases doing interesting things with the power supply positioning. Wow, that's a lot of P's. Because it gets the power supply out of the way of the fans. It makes it easier to work with. A lot of cases do that these days with dual chambers, so the box cases. If you want one to look at, like if I go to Asus GT02 images, right? So you have your box case, right? So it'll mount the PSU on the back side, and that then gets it out of the way of the front side, where you can cleanly build and wire up your stuff, and it's out of the way of any fans or anything like that, right? NZXTs, so they had the H5 Flow, which we looked at last video with the horrible video audio. I'm sorry about that again. And its whole deal was it has vented mesh on the side. It had a very strange design choice, in my opinion. Maybe it didn't matter, of the power supply being up instead of down the fan, which in my opinion was sort of a good and a bad thing. And I was a little bit confused as to what that design choice is for. I mean, maybe they did some testing and figured out that that was a non-issue. If you mounted a fan over the top of it and then the two fans are blown in opposite directions, maybe there's just so much air, maybe there's so much clearance, or there's enough clearance that doesn't matter, but I kind of think it would. I I'd be interested for somebody to maybe test that out and really put a load on a maybe a more higher end machine. You know, get the fans of the video card spun up, get the fans on the power supply shroud there on that case spun up, and then put enough of a load that the PSU is having to spin up its fan, and then maybe we could see some things. But the other case that the NZXT has recently come out with is this H7. And this H7 looks awesome to me. They really did a good job. The catch about this case, so they flipped the power supply on its side, okay? And you see this bulge here inside the main compartment. It's like it's a dual chamber, but it's not a dual chamber, really. This is just a PSU shroud that's been flipped on its side, which, magic, right? They flipped it on its side, and so thusly you mount your PSU here, right? The cables come out. Probably way easier to get and see the actual plugs. You know, as you're wiring up your PSU, probably no problem at all. Just like in your two channel cases like this Asus GT05. So you get that benefit of ease of assembly, good Lord, and wiring that up. And on top of it, it's just a bit taller. That's it. It's not wider. It doesn't take up more room the same way that this would on your desk, which, by the way, this is a cool case. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love the GT502. I actually, if somebody wanted to buy me one, I would totally take and build it. I would also take one of these, though. Probably in black, I think would be a better color for me. I don't know if they've got the black. Switch over. Here we go. Yeah, now we're talking. Now we're talking. Now we're cooking grease. So it basically it has removable panels and everything. You can put 3 140s up front, which is a consequence of it being a little taller. It's got plenty of room for like your AIO. I mean, there's so much room for activities, and I think it'd be really fun for a lot of people to try to figure out what to do with this basement area. You could put all sorts of things in there. It's not interfering with the air really. There's plenty of space. You could put a LCD screen in here. You could put your Funko Pops in there. You could do whatever you want to do, right? So I think it's a really fun case that is also sleek, and it's actually not bad looking. And I think NZXT knocked it out of the park with this guy. One thing I would like, I'm getting kind of partial to cases that have I/O down in the bottom front or something. Like I would have liked to have seen if there was some sort of option, like in the Lee 216, to move that front I/O. Like if you could do that, then that would be peach. But this is awesome. Like this is a great case. There's a little part of me that wants to get one and build my system in it just to have it. I don't know if I can swing that, either money or time wise, frankly. But I really like it. Like I think they did a good job. The front comes out, which is a big deal to me. I'm so happy that there's cases out there that do this. It makes it so much easier to mount fans, specifically on the front. Like my Fractal, I would literally have to get a screwdriver on the inside and do that. That's irritating to me. Like, why would they, I love Fractal design, but guys, it's 2024. Do this. Build a bracket like this. I don't know why that's so hard. It's about what, $129? Yeah, so $130. A little bit on the pricey side, but not outrageous. Doesn't have just a filter on top. It actually does have a metal panel. So not bad. Like good machinery. Looks like. I would still say the Lee 216 is probably your bang for the buck. But if you have a few more bucks to spare and you like the look of this case, it is a little roomier, kind of. And I just think there's a lot of room for activities down here. I think airflow is going to be just as good, if not better, than the 216. especially if you get like some crazy 140 mil fans put in the front here. This is mesh. It's going to blow air right through the case. They didn't make it excessively wide, so you know there's that. The fans recess in the bottom, get clean air from the bottom, and the feet are tall enough to make sure that the fans are able to pull air up through the bottom. So yeah, like I was looking at this thinking this is great. Like they did a great job. And when someone like NZXT does a great job, I think it's good to give them feedback that way, because we need more companies doing things a little differently, thinking about these things, making great products. Again, my two gripes: the price is a little high, slightly, I think, and I would like to see an option for the I/O to be down here on the front or bottom or side. That's it. That's the only real complaints I've got as far as what I just see on the side here. So take a look at it. I think it's a really cool case. And I'm excited to see more companies playing around with the position of the PSU in even normal form factor cases. That way we can get all sorts of options. Because at the end of the day, that's what I like, is I like everybody to have options to do what they want to do. Okay. Guys, that's it. I'm going to cut the video there. I'm going to go get dinner. I really hope everybody has a good day, good rest of their week. I'll be back with another video hopefully pretty soon. And, leave a like and subscribe if you would. And signing off, this is Bart Things. We'll see you in the next one.